What is up, everybody? What's going on? I don't even know what to say about this right here.
Hey, look, the best I could do is like last minute.
I can't.
Look, I got this green screen. I'm freaking using it.
Wow. Look,
all right. I just got this idea within like the last 30 minutes. I've been spending that whole 30 minutes trying to get it right, and it still looks crap.
I can't.
Do you know how hard it is to find a template? I need to go into freaking GIMP and actually cut out his face and just have a green screen.
So red.
This is like I see what you're going for, but it's like so badly done. It's almost
it's like the MODOK show.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes, I did this on purpose. It's a total analog to the MODOK show and how crappy it is.
All right, before we get started, I'm going to answer these super chats.
Let's do some super chats.
It's 99 super chat. What are your thoughts on the Flash season 8 5-episode event with Entail? Will it have another heroes from other shows crossing over with Barry? Will the heroes be whose shows have ended? So they announced that the Flash next season is going to have like a 5-episode sort of crossover thing just on the Flash with other characters. And I think they're doing it because they didn't really get one this year. So they're trying to make up for it by doing something over there or whatever. I don't know what we're going to have, but I do know that there are some characters like Black Lightning. Cress Williams has said he would come back to do stuff. There's other characters that will probably come back. I don't think we're going to see Supergirl back. I think Melissa Benoist is pretty much done with DC TV. But we could have a ton of characters come back. I mean, there's so many possibilities from past seasons, and I think The Flash is the one show, and I know that you don't watch it, Omega, but Cyber's watched it, and I think it's the one character that can he can generically insert himself into any storyline, really. I mean, he's a character that kind of works in anything, even when it's like street level characters, he still can sort of fit into that world. So I think anybody's a possibility. And then follow up is a 4.9 super chat from Scott. Also, do you think Stargirl could be involved in this and how she officially crosses over? So Stargirl, as you guys don't know, is on a different Earth than everybody else. She missed the Crisis boat by like a half season. So they didn't have opportunity to bring her together. But this upcoming season of Stargirl is supposedly going to connect the multiverse by adding Jay Garrick from the Flash show into the Stargirl world, because he's a speedster too, so he can crossover. So I think that she'll probably cross over like they did with Supergirl back in the beginning, where she would just come over for like something and then go back. I think that's probably the most likely scenario.
I actually haven't watched any of Stargirl, but I heard it's good.
It is really good.
But I did not set aside time to watch Stargirl.
Right. So Thomas Scott here with a $5 super chat and a Team Eric member. Without spoiling, Lucifer 5B is out. The musical episode was great. Dream to Dream with a certain other character. Wow. Also, Lois soon. Man of Lois is the only show on this week. So there we go. Have either of you watched Lucifer 5B yet?
I've not watched Lucifer.
Yeah, me either. I mean, now that I got Netflix back, I actually might try to catch it.
It's on Netflix. So
yeah, I know it's a phenomenal show. But when it was originally when it came, I mean, I don't know when it originally started, but we had a slew of shows we were already watching. Didn't add that on. And now that it's on Netflix, maybe we'll pick it up. But so I've only heard good things. I've never heard anything bad about Lucifer, ever.
I watched the whole first season already. I'm starting the second season this month, or June, I should say. I'm starting the second season, and I'm doing my reviews for Team Eric members. I can't do reactions anymore. There's too much pop music in it. It gets claimed every single time. But I did my season overview already for this past season, for season 1, and so I'm catching up slowly. But I'm excited. Excited to see it. I'm not a big fan of musical episodes, so we'll see how they do. Canada Grass with the $5 super chat. Insert controversial comment that will get all three of you to argue with each other for 45 minutes.
Not much.
There's very few things that probably would do that. It's not like my like the after parties, but we'll see. All right, so let's go ahead and start out talking about MODOK, I guess, because we're going to review the whole season this week, but I can't get through the season. I mean,
I didn't even bother because I just read about what happens. I'm just like, yeah, I don't think I even want to bother.
So here's the thing: I'm 4 episodes in, and I was excited for it when I saw the previews. I think I said it last week, League Geekly, and I will probably continue to say it just because I watched Robot Chicken, Space Ghost Coast to Coast, Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Like, all that humor is not fallen to me. Like, I love that humor. I think it's great. Maybe I've outgrown it, or maybe it's just because this doesn't hit. But like, there are elements of MODOK I like. Some of the one-liners are funny, and some of the moments that happen in the episode, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But for the majority of the episodes, I'm struggling. I am struggling. And we watch them while we're eating dinner, and usually afterwards, like, we'll sit around if we're watching something and there's another episode of something, we'll watch one more and eat dessert or something. No one in my family is like, hey, you want to watch another episode? Like, they're watching it because they know I want to see it and be able to discuss it with everyone here. But they're just kind of sitting around like, are we gonna watch another one? I'm like,
are we done?
Not tonight. So
I fell asleep watching episodes of MODOK. I mean, it just wasn't good. Patton Oswalt is amazing. He's a great actor, but the show just doesn't have something that I need. You know what I mean? So
I guess the show just doesn't. Like we were saying before, is like that Robot Chicken humor probably only works as small, like maybe
in skits.
1 minute, 1 minute skit at the longest.
Like, for me, like, I don't like how he's so stupid and everyone around him is smart. And then, like, every time something happens,
and let's be straight up here. The gag of somebody being extremely smart, but then also being extremely stupid is used way too often. It's a joke in so many things. Like, you always have the show where you have the smart character, but then that smart character is only smart in like one specific thing, and then they're stupid in everything else. And it's kind of it's a gag that I just don't. It doesn't work anymore.
Like, like one of the episodes that I watched, and I don't, if you guys have seen all of MODOK, then this is not a spoiler. If it is, there's a scene where there's a fight, and he's like he's trying to bring people over from the Brood planet, and it ends up not being from the Brood planet, and the whole thing was like funny at first, but it was like 5-10 minutes of it just dragging on, and I'm like, it's like you just want it to get to the point. Like, when you're watching, WandaVision, you feel like you're not getting enough context in that 1 hour. Falcon and Winter Soldier, you feel like you want more in that 1 hour. But this show, at 30 minutes, I kind of wish it was more like 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. Because the jokes just fall flat after a certain amount of time. I'm just ready.
Something that I have nostalgia for that I go back and it's hard for me to watch is Ren and Stimpy. Like, I loved Ren and Stimpy as a kid, but now I go back and watch it and I'm like,
I don't know if I've outgrown that humor, but it's just not there for me. And
humor doesn't always age well, and some stuff becomes
like,
out
oh my god, I watched this when I was 6. Well, not 6.
Right.
But.
For those who are enjoying MODOK or watched all of MODOK, I'm going to finish it and give it a chance to grab me in the story aspect of things, but I don't know what. I don't know when that's going to be. It's tough. And to those who like it, I'm not saying it's bad for you.
Yeah, it's not. It's not like, oh, this is bad. You shouldn't watch
it. I can't watch it and laugh. Like, I think I've only like giggled at a couple spots, and then everything else, I'm just kind of like, this is painful. So I don't know. I will finish it, but right now, 4 episodes in,
it's like Beavis and Butthead. Like, Beavis and Butthead is a show that I don't know if I would go back and watch.
Yeah, because I used to love Beavis and Butthead back in the day. Now when I watch them, like,
really
I mean, I know it's a shocker that Cyber Ninja doesn't like something, but really, I had high hopes, and this was a letdown for me so far.
Well, that's our MODOK mini review for like 4 or 5 episodes for us, and then of course Omega is MODOK himself. He didn't watch it, but he is cosplaying as MODOK. All right, we got a ton of possible Spider-Man news that we want to go over, and before we get into the casting part of it, there is a possibility, at least there's a rumor, and it's come from a couple different sources, that William Dafoe's Green Goblin will be the main villain in Spider-Man No Way Home. Now, were you a fan of his Green Goblin in that first Spider-Man movie or no?
Yeah, I was.
God, what? Chat, I swear to God, I like stuff. I swear I do. Okay,
He doesn't like anything.
I do. I like Willem Dafoe. I think he's a great actor. I think the role he played was great. I thought the Green Goblin suit and how the whole fighting took place was trash. He and what he did was great. So I like Willem Dafoe. Right. I did not like that Green Goblin. But I didn't like that. You know what? Let's just stop.
So did you
Clifford
see
Dafoe's canceling Cyber?
I like him. I like William though. I think he's a great actor. I actually hate that they killed him off.
Did you see that there was supposed to be a version of him that actually looked like a Green Goblin, but they decided not to do it? Yeah, like a combination of prosthetics and animatronics. They were going to do like a full-on like comic book face with him, but then they decided that they wanted him to go back and forth from being human and the Green Goblin. They thought that a transformation sequence didn't really fit with the vibe of the film or something, so they went against it. But I don't know, something about
his suit is bad, man. That suit is bad.
I wonder if they're going to go with
I think it was bad.
Oh my god! Pull up a screenshot.
Yeah.
Chat. You're going to learn today. It's bad.
All right, hold on.
I'm going to pull it up on the screen.
Your face. He can pull it up.
All right, here we go.
It's bad.
There it is, right there. It's this green.
That is so bad. That is awful. You can't defend that Green Goblin. That looks like it belonged in a Batman and Robin DC film. The DC film, the really bad one. Not that there was a good animated, live action.
It's a full.
Look at that.
Oh yeah, here's a full screen here. You can't see my freaking hands. Why am I pointing? Take a drink.
The campiness of it, I appreciate as well because they did a lot in that. It's like I like campy stuff when like they do certain things. Like I think when he was like in the cafeteria and he caught all the stuff, that campy stuff, that's kind of cool. But when you have a suit like that and he's literally trying to choke the life out of Spider-Man in that picture, you can't take it seriously. He's not threatening, and he's supposed to be.
Hey, right? You wanted a topic that'll get us all arguing. You got one.
There's nothing to argue here. That suit is bad.
I think it was bad.
Here is
it's not MCU version, but it's not bad.
Okay.
Here was the proposed suit, the one that they decided not to go with.
Will Dafoe's always been old.
Here it goes. Like this was the mask they were going to use, and they decided not to use it. Right here.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that.
But the thing is, though, is that looks scary, right? He's flying at you, supposed to be throwing like pumpkins and Halloween-esque, theme. That's supposed to be scary, right? The other one looks like what you would purchase for Halloween if you were trying to be scary, if you know what I'm saying.
There's a side-by-side of the two of them, like right here.
Like if the helmet was smaller, almost like the mouth was like a mouth and not like the entire helmet.
I don't like that you can see his face in that mouth.
There's nothing I like about that. There's nothing
I feel like if that part were completely blacked out, maybe it would be okay.
I think it should look. What? Okay, what purpose does that helmet serve? It doesn't. No, it's bad. It's bad.
Like in the comics, he was transformed into a goblin, so that's why he looked that way. I don't know. In that movie, do they ever explain why a goblin is the other persona? Did they ever go into that at all? Or no?
It was some like lab accident, like with every other.
No, I understand how that happened, but why was that the design he went with? Because I know the glider was made for like the military, like that was originally going to be a military thing.
I totally forgot. I do not remember.
It's tech. Who doesn't like tech? I like tech, but that helmet is not tech. That helmet is tack, as in tacky. It's bad. It was bad.
Yay or nay for him being the main villain? Would you want to see him as the main villain or no?
So here's the thing, and I can't take Omega seriously, so I'm talking over him. I apologize.
Oh God.
I want him to be in the movie because I like Willem Dafoe. But if it's like that, there's no saving it. If it's that version, there's no saving it. And it can't be that version. He died.
Yeah. Tom is here with a $2 super chat. Thoughts on possible Joker 2 script being written? I don't know why they would do a second Joker movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I figured that first Joker movie was kind of.
I thought it was supposed to be a standalone film. Yeah. I didn't think they were making it into like a franchise. So
I mean, it was a DC movie, but without really being a DC movie. If you get
it was an Elseworlds movie. Yeah. I think what I would call it. I don't know. Did either of you see that first Joker movie?
Mm-mm. Oh, actually, no, I didn't see it. Kind of want to, but I didn't.
Yeah, I saw it. Well, let's not talk about it. Chat's gonna hate me, man. Chat's gonna hate me.
Hood Rat Pat with the $4.99 super chat. I like Jay being in the Stargirl explainer. Her Earth 2 looks like the one the Flash views in the JSA. He never had a reason to tell Barry. Same suit on Supergirl, on Stargirl too. Yeah. I mean, Jay Garrick he fits in perfectly in that world. So I'm excited about seeing him there, and I love John Wesley Shipp. So, that is somebody who took his 90s Flash role and turned it into like a lifetime of being that character. Because he went from being the 90s Flash to being Barry Allen's father to being Jay Garrick. So he's really like maximized his time as the Flash.
Hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, it's great. All right, so let's talk about the big news, I guess, and that is that we have a Kraven the Hunter cast now. This is it came out a couple days ago, and it says here, I'm going to go through the article, Aaron Taylor Johnson, who most of us know from both Kick-Ass and the MCU, has been cast in Sony's Marvel film The Hunter. Deadline first reported last Sunday. Steve Chandler would direct the film, with entry in the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters. So, initial thoughts on this, just before we... Did you see this? Did you see this coming?
No, I did not see this coming, and I'm wondering what the hell is Sony doing.
Okay, I absolutely love the actor, so I'm glad to see him back in a big role. I didn't see him playing Kraven, so. But I'm guessing they want to go with a younger actor so they can grow with the franchise. So I get that, and he's a great actor. I think I had said, I think it was last week where I said, at some point Marvel's getting too big, and I know this is Sony, but Marvel's getting too big to where you're running out of actors if they have been in a role and they've been killed off, or if they're already in a reoccurring role.
Yeah, point.
You're running out of actors, and this one has already been proven to do these types of roles well, from Kick-Ass to Age of Ultron. So I think he's going to do fine with Kraven, and I'm interested in it. I know it's Sony, so it probably won't tie into the MCU, but it's just interesting how it'll play out. It's not the first time they've used a character, but a front running character to be another cast member is. So
yeah, so as one of Sony's Pictures universe of Marvel characters, Kraven is one of the most iconic and notorious anti-heroes. He has encounters with Venom and Black Panther, among many others. He's one of Spider-Man's best known and most formidable enemies. The film is set to bow on, is that, I've never seen that phrase used. January 13th, 2023. So it says insiders say Taylor Johnson came on the studio exec's radar for the part after dailies for his upcoming action-picked Bullet Trains started coming in when the scenes would blow away top brass. Taylor Johnson plays one of the main assassins in the pick. According to one source, the scenes with Brad Pitt were so impressive that the studio acted fast to get him on the phone with Kandor. So is this going to be like a proto Kraven? Is this going to be like very early Kraven the Hunter, or is this going to be
that's what I'm thinking. This perhaps being that they cast someone who looks this young, it just has to be like a young Kraven, obviously. Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the whole single Spider-Man movie. I want him to be part of the MCU, and I don't know. I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Sony has said that they have a really good relationship with Marvel and Disney. The problem is Sony still wants their own little piece.
Yeah, they want their own thing. It's like no one wants what Sony wants, but Sony's going to get their money.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing when you think of Fox when they had the X-Men.
Yeah, the X-Men.
Right.
Which pissed me off to no end.
So I feel like the Into the Spider-Verse animated world, I was totally good with that being just in Sony's little pocket dimension. I think really great storyline, great characters. Venom, I was sort of okay with. I know some people hated it, didn't think it was a great movie, and some people absolutely loved it. I was okay with it. It didn't bother me too much. I think that they turned Venom into a Spider-Man by the end of the movie, though. Like, he wasn't actually there. To me, I wanted to see the Venom story arc from the comics, or at least an adaptation of that story arc. Mm-hmm. We got a little bit of that in that really bad Spider-Man 3 from back in the day. But I wanted to see it done with some really cool like actors and characters and done in a way that it is in the comics. And my issue with the Venom movie is they took that away from me as a fan. They took that away from me and created Venom into like this anti-hero before him ever really being a villain.
Yeah.
So
it's just like we just want what's in the comics on the big screen, but executives and directors, they want to make their version and no one gives a damn about their version.
They didn't have Spider-Man. They wanted Venom, but they didn't want Spider-Man. So they're like, we can't have Tom Holland, so we're going to create a anti-hero Venom and make that our Spider-Man. So my theory is that this Kraven and the Morbius character are going to cross over with Venom, and Venom is just going to be Sony Spider-Man. That's what I think. Because unless Tom Holland, and there are talks about him crossing over from MCU to Sony and the multiverse and all that, unless Tom does that for like a story arc or something like that, or he disappears into the Sony universe for a while and then comes back to the main MCU or whatnot, unless that happens, I don't know how we're going to get any real Spider-Man stories in this Venom verse.
Do you think that while Sony is obviously trying to maximize their ability to make money off of these franchises, and they're obviously not tied to the MCU, do you think that down the road, any property that is not deemed MCU might also not, like, eventually might fail because people think it's not part of a bigger story? Like, if it starts coming out like such and such's next film is this character, if it comes out immediately, well, it's like, oh, well, this isn't MCU. Do you think people are just not going to care about that character anymore? Not want to see it?
Depends on how good these standalone movies are. If we still get the quality of Venom, people are eventually not going to care at all because they're going to be bad. But if we occasionally get a really good standalone picture, hey, it's up in the air. We might.
But then if you have a really good standalone picture, wouldn't people be like, can you bring it? I mean, look at what people are doing with the Netflix series.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, bring them over. Yeah. Those were fantastic standalones.
Yeah, good point.
And so now it's kind of like we want them back, and we don't want different actors playing those roles. So those roles are kind of tainted.
Yeah, good point. So
I don't know if this is
one of the things that burns me up, and it really bothers me between like the Fox properties or whatever, is attention to detail. I love when the movies and the shows pay attention to detail because it makes me feel like the world is real.
Yeah, like they care.
Right. When you start overlooking the smaller things, and the bigger things seem worse, because some of the bigger things I would overlook if you got the small stuff right. And the problem is they don't always do that. So right out of the gate, the idea of a world with Venom being a hero and creating this symbiotic storyline about him being like the runt of the litter type character or whatever, all of that without Peter Parker being a part of it didn't interest me at all. Because I feel like Venom's existence directly ties into his time with Peter Parker.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Well, yeah.
So having that character exist in a story where he never, ever encountered Peter Parker, you already lost me there. You know what I mean? So going into that Venom movie, I was like, do I really want to watch this kind of thing? And, Tom Hardy, I like Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy's great. But I just don't know if I want more in this world. There's some people that love this Venom movie. I saw people defending it tooth and nail, how great it is and that and the other, and the idea of Carnage coming in and everything. But do we not want to see Spider-Man interact with Venom? Isn't that like part of the core of both of those stories?
That's exactly how I am about the X-Men movies. A lot of people love those X-Men movies. I totally despise them. I'm like, do you not want him to go up and want them to?
Ooh.
Jeez, I can't.
It's his first day with his new mouth chat.
Do you not
want to see the Shi'ar Empire? Do you all not want to see Corsair and the rest of the cosmic stuff that the X-Men get up into? No? Okay, I guess I'm just weird. I mean, we got Apocalypse, but that was garbage.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good. My thing is this, like, people that followed the comics want to see it on the big screen, and when it differentiates from that, it obviously, we hope it's just done tastefully well. But at the same time, it's like, yes, that story was told, but that's the story we want, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when it comes to other things, when we see it change so much, at that point, you can see it as another version of that character, but it's like, put that one in the comics and see how that does. You don't have to just go ahead and put it in a feature-length film, but that's my opinion.
Well, I guess for me, it's going to be hard for me. So here's another thing. Marvel puts out, on average, with the exception of 2020, 2 to 3 movies a year to keep the MCU sort of in everybody's mind, right? The problem is these other companies like Fox or Sony, Fox before Disney got them, Sony, Paramount, whatever, they are like, we're going to give you a movie every 3 years. That doesn't work anymore. That formula doesn't work anymore. If you are not putting out at least one film a year in that universe, especially with superheroes, it feels like it takes forever to get the story done. Like, one thing Marvel does is it took us 10 years to deal with the Infinity Gauntlet, right? Mm-hmm. To get to that point where we had the snap and everything. But they gave us many story arcs within that longer storyline. Mm-hmm. Whereas with the X-Men, every movie was
its own thing.
But every movie was an Infinity Gauntlet story. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like we got like for example, the Age of Apocalypse or even Days of Future Past. You could have played something like that out over a series of films, 2-3 movies or something like that.
Which is how it was in the comics.
The Phoenix Saga. That's literally a 10-part series. Yeah, exactly. I know what you're saying.
Every freaking X-Men series always got to have like the Phoenix Saga, the entirety of the Phoenix Saga within 30 minutes?
They never do the Phoenix Saga. They always do the Dark Phoenix Saga.
Yeah, they go.
The Phoenix Saga was just as long as the Dark Phoenix Saga. Jean Grey was Phoenix for a very long time in the comics before Dark Phoenix ever became a thing. Anyway, my point being, getting back to the Spider-Man thing, is this feels very similar to that to me. Like the Morbius, the Kraven the Hunter, all of this. If you're going to do these movies, get on them. Like, let's make it happen. Like, is this taking the place of another Spider-Verse movie or something like what? Like, where is this going to fall? 2023? 2023? Marvel cranks out movies in like 3 months. Like 2020, let's erase that year from any kind, because no theaters were putting anything out.
Yeah.
But if you go back before that, Marvel never rested. They were one of the hardest working comic book movie production companies probably ever, cranking out 2 to 3 movies a year. This year we're getting 4 movies. Yes, one of them is a Sony hybrid, but there's 4 Marvel movies this year. So for me, it's like, if you're not putting out some good stuff, the X-Men, you realize how many individual movies you could do that would be cheap, that they could have done during the break between the big films? So many of them. That's what the origin movies were supposed to be. X-Men Origins, Wolverine. We're supposed to get X-Men Origins Storm. We're supposed to get all these origin movies. We only got one trilogy of them, and it was Wolverine.
And it was garbage.
So
garbage Deadpool.
I don't feel like they give a shit about the properties when they do stuff that feels like they're just trying to hold on to it.
No, they just seeing dollar signs. They just see, okay, we have the value of a comic. We have the value of one comic movie that's very popular, so we'll make a movie out of it. And that would just make money. I'm explaining it completely.
Let me just ask both of you a question
at this point.
Let me ask both of you a question. If we introduced Venom, would you have wanted to do it over a trilogy of films based on Secret Wars? Because that's where he came from. That's where Venom originated from. A space-based movie. where they went to another planet. So that could have been 2 parts. It could have been a 2-part movie, Secret Wars 1, Secret Wars 2. They could have totally done that to introduce it. But because Sony wanted to profit off of Venom quickly, they were like, no, we're just going to put out a low-budget movie with Tom Hardy. And it's all going to take place on Earth.
They just see what I was trying to say before. They have, we have this here, we have this property here, and that's going to make a bunch of, I can't even explain it well. Just move on. I can't even think straight.
All right. Let's answer this one here, because this is gonna, before we move on to the next topic. Do you think the DCEU does as bad as the X-Men universe does? With thoughts on this?
Yes, they're both horrible.
I mean,
I think
I put
DC
them both
does it
in
better.
Yeah, I was going to say I put them in a different category. Like, I think the DCEU has fell victim to too much too fast. It's not that they're written badly in terms of the characters. You know, I can nitpick Flash, that's fine. But in general, the DCEU at least keeps it pretty close. It's just they were trying to do too much too fast, and they really shouldn't have. Those characters are better than that. I think that the X-Men weren't even trying. For God's sakes, from film to film, they didn't even reference what happened in the past film. Like,
they screwed up their own continuity so many times.
So here's what I was trying to say. They have this comic. They have the X-Men, which is a popular comic series, one of the popular comic series. Okay, we see the Marvels doing their stuff, so we're going to have this movie. We're going to make a movie. Who cares about continuity? Just make comic movie. Comic movie makes money, profit. How can this fail? It failed. Why?
What movie are we nitpicking that isn't even out yet? We haven't talked about a specific movie. We're talking about Venom, a movie that came out we're talking about 2 years ago. We're talking about X-Men movies that came out. I don't know what hypothetical movie.
Basically, we're just saying we have no hope for another Venom, for a Venom series. We just have no hope for it. Just like I have no hope for any other X-Men.
I think we all agreed that we like the casting for Kraven is fine.
The casting's fine. It's just I have no hope for this movie. Like I had no hopes for X-Men. And still have no hope.
I think Kraven's going to be a fine
Flash. Movie. We're talking about a Flash that has existed in the DCU. I'm talking about the
Justice when he was in the Justice League.
Yeah,
and I've already said I don't think that movie's actually coming out. So, I'm saying not the Flash is in the movie, is in the character that was already established in the DCEU. That character exists,
right?
So, if you guys misunderstood me, that's what I meant.
So. So Cody says Days of Future Past was one comic, a single issue, but it doesn't matter. That story is bigger than one issue. In a movie setting, especially one where you're retconning so much of the story. First of all, it wasn't Wolverine.
Yeah, no,
that's Kitty Pryde.
So you can make that one film. That's fine.
They just got it wrong
from the start.
Yeah, I could say you could take that story and turn it into 2 movies if you wanted, but at the very least, the one movie should have been more cohesive. And Days of Future Past wasn't a bad film.
Yeah, everyone says Days of Future Past is pretty good.
I think Days of Future Past was probably one of the better movies.
Yeah,
because of the fact that I feel like it was a more exciting movie. The beginning of it, like the first 20 minutes of that movie, I thought were really, really, really good.
What's the ones that had the Sentinels that was all the maybe 7 feet tall? And they were. Which one was that?
7 feet tall? I don't know. Days of Future Past.
It has some weird looking Cylon looking Sentinels. No, they had one that had these weird Cylon looking Sentinels. I can't remember which one. They were all garbage. Who cares? Anyway, move on.
Yeah, we know how you feel about it. So no, my point being is that that a movie doesn't have to be 3 movies long, but if you're building up to a big event, you need to lay the foundation for it. Because the one thing that I've noticed about comics and movies is something that Marvel gets right more than not. Like, Marvel's not perfect. They've had movies that aren't great. I'll admit that. But more often than not, they lay the foundation for stuff. At least they try to. Comics are long-form storytelling for the most part. You can do a 4-issue run, a 10-issue run, whatever. But you look at the X-Men, especially from the late 70s, early 80s, up into the early 90s, it was long-form storytelling. Even if there was a single issue, that one story was based on...
Still had ramifications across several issues.
Right, exactly. Because they laid the bricks for all of that. They laid the foundation for all of that. So if you take, for example, I have a graphic novel. The other day when we were cleaning up my mom's house, you can get the trade paperbacks that have an entire story arc in them. Even if it's one story within the X-Men, they usually include like 4 issues prior and 2 issues afterwards, because in order to get the full scope of the story, you need to read all of those little pieces, which is why a lot of times we've talked about this in the past is going into movies. Like, for example, Infinity War and Endgame. If you went and watched those movies and you've never watched anything else from the MCU, even though they try their best to make it easy for you to understand, you're going to be a little bit lost in those movies in Infinity War and Endgame. I think you may be a little bit like, you're not going to know all the characters. You're not going to know the stories behind them. A lot of the little Easter eggs aren't going to make sense to you, but that's okay, because those 2 movies were intended to be a culmination of like 10 years of work, which is why.
That's one thing. It's like a lot of directors and movie executives, they're afraid of people not knowing who these characters are. Just who cares? Just let people not know who they are. If they're really interested, then they'll look up the source material and they'll bring more people into the comics. But they're not even thinking that. They just want lowest common denominator, get butts and seats.
Well,
who cares if it's good? Get people to pay for it.
We weren't going to talk about this today, but it's kind of going in this direction. Do you think Disney Plus's idea to have the Marvel movies extend into like these high budget TV shows, do you think that's going to confuse people? Like, for example, when they go see Doctor Strange 2 and you see Scarlet Witch as Scarlet Witch instead of as Wanda, do you think that that's going to confuse people, or do you think the intent is to get people to pay for Disney Plus? Because the show's great, but do you think at the end of the day they're also like, well, you can watch our stuff on Disney Plus? Do you think that's kind of where they're going, or
possibly? I do think it's also going to confuse. I think it's going to be a mix of both. People are going to be confused, and F them. Who cares? Let them be confused.
But I don't think they are.
Want good storytelling.
Here's the thing. I don't think they are. Here's why. Infinity War, right? Iron Man shows up. What does he show up with? Nanotech suit, right? No one was like, where did he get that from? You would just be like, oh, you're under the assumption that he's obviously been working on his suit, his abilities going forward. I think anyone who would watch Doctor Strange 2 to see the progression of Scarlet Witch could just chalk it up to she's obviously been in her off time training. Seeing Sam show up as Captain America, right? You would just, he got the shield at the end of Endgame. If you don't see Falcon and Winter Soldier, you would just assume that he took up the mantle, not necessarily what he went through to get it or to make it feel like he deserves it. So I think that I think they'll be okay. I don't think there's going to be anything so major. I mean, the Darkhold is pretty major, but hopefully they give a little recap or something along.
I guess they do need to make it accessible for people who not get in there, who don't really follow the source material that closely. I guess it's just I
don't know. We'll see.
But you know what kind of gets under my skin, because I love both DC films and Marvel films. Like I think they have potential, both sides of those. But the thing that kind of gets under my skin was people give Marvel shit because Infinity War and Endgame they say was so it was unwelcoming to new viewers. Like they're like, oh, it's not great for people to just come in and watch or whatever. But they're the same people that defend the DCEU for being just for comic book lovers. You know what I mean? Like, right. Like the DCEU, arguably they say that's for the comic book lovers, right? Okay, fine. But then you can't use that as an argument against the MCU not being accessible for people that don't read comics, because I feel like, you can have a little bit of both. You can still get, like, I think a perfect example of giving me solid comic book storytelling but still being accessible to people was the Winter Soldier movie. Like the Winter Soldier movie is like, I think in my opinion, that's the perfect, like, sit down, watch action movie with superheroes. And yes, there's stuff in there that connects to the broader, like outside the world or whatever, but the actual stuff in the film is accessible to just about everybody. So you look at something like that, and I think they did a great job with that. So let's see, there was another question here that I wanted to pull up. Cody, The Gifted was going to in season 3 tied to the movie, and that's why I was crushed by the cancellation. So did either of you watch The Gifted show? It's the show about the mutant in the real world.
Yeah, like I thought The Gifted was great. I didn't see, so I thought that was like one of the best properties written for mutants.
It told me that mutants need TV shows.
Yeah,
that's what it told me.
The first season was
really good.
It's really good.
Oh, it's got Polaris, and
Polaris was so good.
I just being that it was mutants and it wasn't done by Marvel, I just kind of just wrote it off as being Sony, not Sony, but is Fox garbage.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think The Gifted was probably the best thing that Fox ever did next to Legion for mutants, I think.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. I think that The Gifted was a fantastic show. I didn't see how it ended because when they said it got canceled, I was like, all right, well, I'm not even going to finish watching it. Right. But it was great. The first season was great. I saw the first season.
The Gifted is a good example of where I think if you work on the small stuff, the bigger stuff doesn't really matter too much. And I think that shows because that show did. You got long form storytelling, and unfortunately, like Star Wars, mutants kind of need long form storytelling.
Yes,
they just kind of need it. The X-Men it's too many characters. It's too many, which is part of the problem I had with the Justice League movie, the theatrical cut, because you had all those characters, and I'm like, we're not getting enough with any individual character. Which is why I think the first Avengers movie was successful because most of those characters we had at least one film with.
My dog sounds like it's dying in the living room. Dog. No, that's the problem is that the missus went to the grocery store, so she's currently bringing in groceries. And if you guys don't know, Shiba Inus are dramatic and they always sound like they're dying no matter what. That bark, that yelp, that is their normal I want attention. And the thing is the dog is just roaming free in the house. It's
all right, so
I will mute my mic.
Anyway,
let's move into our final topic, which is the trailer for the Eternals, which we talked about this last week. We're taking like guesses on when it was going to actually come out, and I don't know what we settled on, but some of the thoughts were we weren't going to see it until after Shang-Chi came out, or it wouldn't be out till Shang-Chi, because I think I said we'll probably see it during Black Widow, and then
I said Shang-Chi,
right? And we literally got it like the next day. I think it was like right after we did.
Yeah, no, I was on Twitter. I'm like, well,
yeah,
I got that wrong.
So we got to see it, and it was actually a pretty decent trailer in terms of like showing us what we're getting into.
Yeah, a lot of people on Twitter was kind of bashing. I was like, I thought it was fine.
I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, Twitter, I mean, I'm sorry, the Twitter dumpster.
It's like it was like a Jack Kirby world, sort of the way that the effects were, the special effects and things on the trailer. But we got to see the characters like in this world and sort of what we're going to be getting in terms of like special effects and suits and costumes and everything. I will say this. One of the things that did bother me just a little bit, and I'm hoping that this isn't the case, is it was giving me like Inhumans vibes with the look of the suits and stuff.
I literally was thinking that watching the trailer.
And I'm like, I don't know about this one, but it looks way better than the Inhumans look.
Yeah,
but
it does. Definitely looks better than you.
But just both of you, each one, give individual your first thoughts on the trailer and any of that stuff. Like, what did you think?
As someone who researches a lot of ancient alien stuff, by research I mean I look at a bunch of YouTube videos and read a bunch of stuff online. I thought it was fairly interesting to have the whole how they're kind of laying into that whole thing, and they were probably got some ideas from those crazy goofball theories and everything. So it drew my attention. I cannot talk today or ever.
I see that. I said a long time ago that I felt I was on the fence because they weren't promoting these movies in Shang-Chi and the Eternals, and I saw the trailer for Shang, and I'm like, oh my god. This is absolute. What was I thinking? I'm not worried. Why would I be worried? This looks amazing. The music's good. The acting looks great. The suits look fantastic. They changed the rings to where they make more sense. Then I saw the Eternals trailer, and I'm like, that's why I'm on the fence. It didn't show you anything. Like I understand it was a teaser. It's a teaser, guys. It's a teaser.
Yeah,
it's a teaser. You're not going to see a lot. So what I did see, though, I wasn't like, I need to see more of this. I was just kind of like, here we go.
Yeah. So we got to look at the ship here.
I don't know what to think of it.
The ship is really interesting. It's like a flat, like a flat design with.
Yeah, I'm a sucker for interesting spaceship design. So yeah, I rather like the ship.
This is what was giving me the Inhumans vibe, was the ship and the costumes. It really did remind me of like that show, the Inhumans. We got a lot of cool little nods here. There's one here that talks about Makari's artifact room. And there's something here about the Senate and the people of Rome. And then there's also a shot that looks like Moon Knight's symbol here, which I think that's an Ankh. Isn't that how it's pronounced?
Yeah.
Ankh. So, yeah. I don't know if that's necessarily Moon Knight or it's just a an artifact.
Well, yeah, it could just be an Ankh or something. And being that they came in during ancient Earth and people could have seen that as the symbol of the gods or whatever, and you guys cannot see my hands. I'm doing jazz hands.
We also see what looks to be like a suit of armor, which could be alluding to the Black Knight. You got the romance between Cersei and Icarus here. And then you have the Unimind, which I think is interesting. The Unimind is kind of like a... I hate to use this comparison, but like a Captain Planet type character, I guess, where they come together in the comics, and when all 7 of them come together, this energy comes out, and it's like this all-powerful
so Voltron
Eternals thing. So kind of, sort of. People are saying maybe it takes 3 of them in the movie instead of 7, but I don't know if that's the case. We're only seeing 3 in the shot, but that doesn't mean there's only 3 there. All 7 of them could be there.
Yeah, they could all be there.
But this does bring up a question. What do you think of these special effects? Because this is different from the Doctor Strange stuff. It's different from the stuff from Scarlet Witch. It is a cosmic power, is what we're seeing. So, look, the dog's here.
Oh, that
puppy.
In terms of like I said, I'm a huge sucker for interesting special effects, so I don't think they look bad. I need to see more. Obviously, I don't really have a solid opinion, but from what I see, it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
What do you think, doggy?
He can't hear us. He's got his headphones on. So yeah, the Unimind's coming into place. So the Deviants, do you think we're going to see the Deviants show up? Because that is, they're very closely tied to the Eternals. Okay, so the Eternals are the perfection of the human race, whereas the Deviants are the imperfections of the human race, and that's kind of where they exist when it comes to the cosmic beings. So they're saying here that we might see something like this, and of course Thanos is connected to the Eternals. So I don't know if we're going to get any of that, but visually, though, I will say I'm impressed by the cinematography. I think the movie looks good, and so fine.
The puppy cut.
I think the movie actually looks really good. We have a lot of really cool shots. Of course, there we go. You know nothing, Jon Snow. He is playing the Black Knight, or Dane Whitman is the character.
So he's playing another Crow.
So I'm going to say this. I believe his character is going to be the character we're supposed to be connecting with, because he's a human. And I think he's supposed to be like, you know, you always have these movies with like these fantastic characters, and you have like the one human character that's supposed to be basically
there. He's basically the audience's point of view on what's going, all this craziness that's going on.
What do you think of Kit Harington from Game of Thrones in general? Like, what do you guys think of him as an actor?
Yeah, I like him because I actually think he played a pretty decent role in the one Call of Duty game I was actually interested in, Infinite Warfare, but everyone else hated. But that's another story. But I actually thought he was pretty good in that.
So yeah, I only have Game of Thrones to base him off of, and I mean, I liked Jon Snow in Game of Thrones. I liked the actor.
Oh God, he's the Cole Young. No, don't.
Oh God, don't bring that shit in here.
I don't know. I don't know how he would do in a different role. I think he was. Was he on Saturday Night Live? I think he was.
I think he was. I think he was.
I think I may have seen that. I'm curious to see where his acting range goes. I only know Jon Snow, so
yeah.
Right. I didn't see him in anything else, so I don't have a problem with his casting. I like Jon Snow. I like the actor. So.
Anthony Beltry with the 199 super chat and a Team Eric member. Do you think a young Namor will show up in Eternals? I don't think so. I think Namor is going to show up in Black Panther 2.
Yeah,
that's where I think he's going to be.
Yeah, but, good point.
Because we've already got set, like the Eternals are all brand new characters. This isn't a movie where we're like, we've got like 2 or 3 characters we already know. These are all brand new characters. I don't know if adding Namor would be, he might be in a post-credit scene. I don't know if he's going to be in the movie though. What do you think? You were going to say something, Cyber?
Chat, I swear. I don't like Namor, so I don't whether he shows up or not.
I'm not a huge fan of Namor either. I just mostly want him to show up so they have something to do in Black Panther 2. That's about it.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you seen No Man Land, but this is very much how a lot of her movies look in terms of color. So it's a very muted color palette then. Is basically
I did not see No Man's Land.
I believe it's on Hulu, maybe. It's on one of the streaming services. I'm not sure.
Should I watch Jupiter's Legacy, chat?
I rather like it.
I've watched it. It's a very slow series.
Yeah, it's a slow burn.
Actually, it's not just slow. It's like being tied up and just like doing like this every 5 seconds. It's really that very much though. So here's the thing. I'm not the biggest fan of a muted color palette. I do prefer a bit more pops of color, but I've said before that I also like Snyder cinematography, and Snyder does a lot of these muted colors as well. So I mean, it's okay, I guess. It really comes down to just how good the story is, I think, for me.
Yeah.
And how the characters are. Because we really need to get to know as many of them as possible. I don't know what the runtime on this movie is, but I'm going to say 2 hours at the least, right?
Probably like 210, 215, probably. Anything less would be really bad with the cast that big. That means some people ain't getting some shine time, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, especially see, this is my fear too, Iron Wolf. I just hope that it's
not. That concern is still there. I don't know.
So the Eternals and the Inhumans share a lot of the same qualities in terms of the dynamics of this family. Now, Icarus is probably the most well-known of the Inhumans. He's been in so many stories in the comics. They redid the Inhumans recently in the early 2000s. I mean, the Eternals in the early 2000s, and they tried to like make them a bit more modern and stuff. But this is a Jack Kirby thing. This is like, he's got such a fantastical mind that it doesn't always translate well into live action, I think. So I would say that like Thor Ragnarok was very Kirby-esque in the colors and the shapes and stuff. Same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy.
But Ragnarok was very bright though, wasn't it? I mean, that was
it was, but Kirby's is. Yeah, Kirby's colors are
okay, I see what you're saying.
So that's what I'm saying is this is giving me that Kirby vibe, but it's a muted palette. So
yeah. I see what you're talking about.
So one of the things that people talked about, because we're getting close to the hour here. By the way, this is the 5-minute warning, guys. One of the things that the people were saying about the Eternals was, why didn't they interfere with the stuff that was going on?
Yeah, that was kind of my concern.
Do you think they're gonna address it in the movie? So
they have to. They absolutely have to.
They said we've stood by for blah blah blah, never interfered. My thing is, what in the world, or what in the universe would happen to where you would step in now, but not when someone took away half of the universe?
Yeah, because I understand.
I have a theory. Go ahead.
That it affected them, and that's why they're stepping in.
Because I was going to say, like, I understand them not wanting to interfere with humans' development as much. Well, they already kind of gave them a little kick, but kind of didn't want to interfere too much and let them kind of develop on their own after a little kickstart. But Thanos snapping half of the galaxy or universe away is a huge thing. That not only just affects this one little planet, that affected everything. So
it may not have affected them though. They may have been immune to the snap.
Possibly, being that they're cosmic beings, maybe I don't know.
The other theory I have is that they only are coming out of hiding because the Celestial is coming to Earth to judge it.
But what would that do for them though? Like, I don't understand. Like,
because if they come to judge the Earth and they deem the Earth unworthy, they wipe the Earth out and start over.
Yeah, well, half of the Earth already been wiped,
and they came back.
Right, I'm saying the difference is that this would be the entire planet. Like, basically everyone would die. So I think they're going to step in because maybe they feel guilty about not helping with Thanos, because maybe Thanos is connected to the Eternals, maybe somehow. But either way, I feel like that's what's going to be. I think a Celestial is going to come to judge the Earth. They're going to step up. They're going to deem the Earth unworthy, and the Eternals are going to have to fight back to stop the Celestials. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my theory.
Possibly.
Because I mean, that's what they've done in the past. It's happened in the comics. So, but also I think that they have to explain why they didn't help at all. Because in the movie, it looks like they're helping out by doing water, turning.
Yeah, they're kind of giving human kind of a little quick, like kind of a kickstart, and then kind of leaving them alone to let them kind of sort out their own affairs.
Right. And also at the end, we have Icarus saying, I wonder who should lead the event, or they say who should lead the Avengers. And he's like, I don't know, maybe me.
Right.
And it's like, another thing is Icarus in the comics is very similar to Superman. So I wonder how powerful he's going to be in the movie. because all the Eternals have basically like Kryptonian physiology. They're very like they're durable. They have healing. They have super strength, stuff like that. But then they all have their unique abilities. Like one's a super fast speedster, the other one can talk to Celeste. We talked about this last week. Mm-hmm. They all have individual powers. But Icarus is kind of like he has the heat vision like Superman, but he also has all the powers of like a Kryptonian as well. So he's very similar to that character. He's sort of like the poster person for the Eternals when it comes to Marvel Comics. So yeah, I don't know. I'm hopeful for it. I think the trailer looked good to me. It wasn't great. I like the Shang-Chi trailer better, I think. This movie, I'm a little bit concerned because of how different the source material is from like what we've had before. But I do like almost everyone in the cast that I know of, the ones that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, they threw some big names at it, or not just big names, but names that in the roles they've played, they've done very well in.
Yeah. So Introverted Unicorn here says, how do you think this is going to connect with the rest of the phase Marvel is setting up? So because this is going to take place over the span of like thousands of years leading up to present day, I'm guessing that the Eternals will kind of play a backseat role. They'll make their presence known at the end of this movie. And then we're going to be dealing with that next cosmic threat, which I believe I would like to think it's Galactus or something like that. I think that would be kind of cool. I know that Omega would like Dormammu to be like the big bad.
Yes.
And any predictions on the next big bad now that we know the Eternals are going to be like making themselves known by the end of the movie?
I have no idea.
Would you want to see Galactus?
I was thinking Galactus, but I don't know. What they're teasing something about Fantastic Four?
Yeah, Fantastic Four, but that's not this phase, if I remember. I think this phase is already written.
So if we take Galactus out,
no.
and so Shuma-Gorath is Doctor Doom or Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, yeah.
If we take Doctor Doom and Galactus out of this phase, then maybe there is no big bad this phase. Maybe there's no big character to come up against or anything like that. I don't know. I feel like by the end of this year, we will know what they're setting up, or we'll have an idea of what they're setting up for the final bits of phase. Because we have, obviously Black Widow, which I don't think is going to set up anything big. I think Black Widow
that's kind of just tying off her story.
And it's going to introduce some characters that we'll probably see, like Yelena.
Yeah, we'll see later.
Come back later. Shang-Chi is obviously an origin story for his character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't foresee that setting up any cosmic level threats. I mean, it might, but I don't think it will. Eternals will probably introduce something bigger than that. And Anthony says King the Conqueror, but I believe that character is connected with the Quantum Mania, which is the Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
So Cody says Annihilation. I mean, that might be cool.
I want Onslaught, but we don't have the X-Men.
I do know that what would you want Onslaught without the X-Men? I wouldn't want Onslaught without the X-Men. That would be bad.
Yes, that's why I'm mad.
I think that we might see some stuff within the No Way Home, because I think that's going to introduce the multiverse.
Yeah.
So we may see something there with like, characters that can cross over and bad guys that can cross over.
I think we probably won't see anything, honestly, and I could be wrong. I think we probably
go.
Well, I was gonna say I don't think we're gonna see like a big bad until the next Captain Marvel film. It's got to be something that can rival her.
Mm-hmm.
That she would need the help of others.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, she could just show up and take out whatever the next big bad is.
Yeah,
the Living Tribunal isn't really a villain.
He's just there. Because I was going to say, with Loki coming out, that's probably going to set up maybe some. Well, I don't know, maybe not, but they did throw reference to the Living Tribunal, so maybe.
Well, I think the Living Tribunal though is just going to be I don't think it's going to be a thing. I think it's going to be that the Time Variance Authority. I think.
Yeah, it's probably just something that he just oversees or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think he's a villain.
He just observes and makes sure like the universe doesn't fall apart.
Right. He doesn't step in unless he's judging someone based on something they're doing. He doesn't attack people. That's not what he does. Somebody says Apocalypse. 2025 will be the X-Men. There is a theory that the X-Men will get set up in the Eternals movie. Would you want to see that or no?
I just want X-Men done right.
I don't know how you can introduce them in Marvel now, and I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
the multiverse.
The multiverse, yes, but
then thanks a lot, Fox. Jerks.
Yeah, really. I don't know how. Well, Fox
the only way
first,
they can introduce them is if the mutation gets if it gets kicked in by something. You know what I mean? Like there's something on Earth that happens that causes it to happen, like the gene to come, like
if they
pop on or something.
Yeah, if they are going to introduce the mutants, it's not going to be it's not going to be to the comics. It's going to be something they have to just drudge.
We're just going to have to accept it or nitpick it.
Yeah,
the idea of getting the classic 5 as the start is gone.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the possibility now. I think we're going to get something similar to the Ultimates, where Wolverine is kind of the beginning with the Weapon X program and stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's going to be I don't think we're going to get Apocalypse, because Apocalypse is the first mutant, and he was alive during freaking ancient Egypt time. So,
right,
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to wait.
That's going to be a touchy subject for the time that that they introduce it, on whether or not we're on board with it or not. I think the multiverse is the only way to do it properly, because you can have an actual. You could actually say it's them.
If we do the multiverse, we could have the original 5.
That's what I'm saying. You could have that 5 show up, but then it's like
the multiverse can introduce the Fantastic Four. Like there's a possibility.
Well, the thing with the Fantastic Four, though, is literally you just have to send them in space and have them get hit by a cosmic wave.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
That can happen whenever,
anywhere.
But the X-Men story, some of the mutants come from such a long time ago that it doesn't make sense to start them now.
Yeah,
and unless you reboot their entire franchise, like in age and everything. So that would be tough. I mean, you could have something happen to where the mutant gene is and activated or whatever, and then have the Professor X start the school, and then have a movie like that and go on that way. I could see that, but what would we be satisfied with that starts it? You know what I mean? Like it's weird.
Rex here says like you can't do Magneto's backstory. We talked about this, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks ago. You could do a Magneto backstory similar to what we know, but it would have to be a fictional event that causes him to do it. Like you couldn't actually do the Holocaust because it would be so long ago.
Yeah, it's too far from now.
So it would be difficult to do that unless they do some sort of time travel story. Just have the mutants in hiding. I don't know about that. I don't.
And then we have the whole Eternals thing all over again. It's like, why didn't they help during this thing?
Yeah, you could have the Morlocks, but I don't think that makes a lot of sense to me.
I think some of the mutants would be fine in terms of saying that they were hiding, as long as the ones that everything has to happen after Infinity War if it's not multiverse. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense that they didn't know. Like they literally had to be like Captain Marvel wasn't on Earth, right? But they had to tell her origin story.
Right. People overthinking mutants are probably existing in plain sight. But the thing is that mutants in plain sight would still have powers, and someone would inevitably use it for evil.
That would be a major thing.
Yeah. So let's see. Cam here says the Eternals can introduce how mutant gene was introduced to humanity thousands of years ago. Yeah. I mean, that is what I'm thinking. Yes, I believe that's probably, So it says Iron Man's origin story was updated. Exactly, Marisu. I agree. But I don't think we're going to get the classic.
Yeah, we're not going to get. X-Men. Yeah, we're not going to get that.
I just don't think we're going to get that. I think we're going to start out with the 1974 X-Men, the ones with Wolverine and Colossus and Storm and that. Because Krakoa, like that whole story with going to the island and the island's alive and that's been retconned now into something else. Like it's just a bit complicated. Whatever we get with the X-Men, it's going to be a simple story, and it's going to be something that just feels like an MCU version of what we had. And I'm okay with that. But the X-Men are probably, in terms of like years and years of stories, have the most complicated stories because they have changed so many things over the years with time travel, the multiverse, the wiping away of mutants, the bringing back of mutants. They've just had so many different things, the cosmic stuff. Yes, there's other characters that have it. You could dive into Franklin Richards and the Fantastic Four. Let's not even get into that because we're already 5 minutes over. But I will say that the mutant storylines are complicated. And so they're going to have to definitely make them more streamlined for the MCU. So I don't think it's going to be as difficult as a lot of people think it is.
If they do an X-Men film, I know you're saying that you want the starting 5. If they couldn't do the starting 5, so here's what Marvel proposes in theory. Like we're just doing this. They're sitting at a round table and they're like, okay, so we're introducing the X-Men. We're doing 5 that we're going to put in this film. Doesn't matter from which team. What 5 would you want them to put in?
You mean if other than like if they're not going to do the original 5?
Yeah, not necessarily the original 5, just 5 X-Men that over the course of all the years of X-Men, they're throwing the 5 in there. What 5?
Mystique. Just kidding. That was.
I was going to say, wow, really? He's throwing that out there? All right.
Storm, and Storm.
Storm would be so like she's so hard to do, man. Like she's so busted.
I don't want. So the problem is, I don't want to introduce any of the second gen X-Men with including the original ones, because I think the second group was such a group that it feels completely different from that first group. The only character that kind of fit is Cyclops, and that's because of part of it to get from the beginning. But I would say if I had to pick 5, I would definitely want Cyclops.
Yeah,
I think Cyclops is an interesting character. I would want to have Jean Grey, but I'm not totally sold on Jean Grey, but I feel like she's such an integral part of Cyclops' story. I would love to have Storm. I think Storm is an awesome character.
She's so broken. She is, though.
I know. I think Wolverine they have to do Wolverine.
Yeah, they have to have Wolverine.
See, but that's so it's almost like you're going with the starting 5 almost, you know?
Yeah, it's you can't. God.
I would like me personally, I wouldn't want Beast.
I kind of want Beast though.
So here's the thing. This is my way of
I would want
the X-Men. If the X-Men have been around for a long time, right? And they've just not been in the public eye. I think characters like Beast could be a mutant who existed in the background because he's a scientist. Mm-hmm. So him having his powers could have been something that he just didn't use as a superhero. He could have just been working with Professor X. Professor X doesn't get out. He's not out fighting in the streets or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I could see him hiding away. But there's some characters like Angel. Like, how are you going to hide him? He's got big wings. Like, there's no way to hide that character. And the way they did in the comics were these big metal boxes on his back in the X Factor iteration. And then before that, he just covered his wings up in a suit. We know that's not going to work either. And characters like Jean Grey, yeah, you could get away with that or whatever. But then what about Iceman? Iceman in the early iteration turned into a snowman. And then over time, he learned how to turn into an Iceman or whatever. There's just certain characters that I think could blend in and some that I just don't feel like they could.
Yeah.
So it would be really difficult for me. Plus, I think Angel is a character. His powers back in the early iteration of the X-Men, having wings and being able to fly, was a big deal. But by today's standards, almost every character has a method of travel other than just walking that seems dynamic. And flying is something that the character has. So it's not enough anymore. If you don't start him out as Archangel, he's not useful at all. That's the problem.
It's kind of true.
So I don't know what's going to happen. Honestly.
Like, it would be so, I would love to see the MCU's versions of the mutants, just because looking at like the Doctor Strange Thanos fight, like almost every X-Men fight would end like that.
Yeah.
Like, where it's just insane. I would love to see it.
So I don't know. To answer everybody's question in the chat, I don't know. I have no idea. The top 5 are the ones I said. I don't know who my 5th would be.
I would say Professor X wouldn't be considered one of the starting 5 because he would be the leader. He's not actually going to go out and fight. So I wouldn't, there's that.
So here's the thing. People are saying Rogue. What version of Rogue do you want? Because it's a very specific version that are the X-Men that everybody loves that is not the same Rogue that they started out with. Mm-hmm. When Rogue first came out, all she could do was absorb
powers.
She was not the Carol Danvers Rogue, the one that everybody loves from the 80s and 90s X-Men, the one that flies and fights like Superman and stuff. That Rogue took Ms. Marvel or Carol Danvers' whole entire life from her. Matter of fact, one of the big storylines was the fact that she had all of Carol's memories in her head, and sometimes she even felt like Carol Danvers. So there's no way that Rogue is going to happen without getting rid of Captain Marvel in the MCU. So if you want Rogue, you're not going to get that one. You're going to get the one that just walks around and absorbs powers.
I think about it too. Like, which version of Psylocke do you want? Do you want the one before she was the assassin?
Yeah.
Most people don't. I love that version of her. My favorite Psylocke is the one in the armor with the cape and the hood. The one where she was just Betsy Braddock and she didn't have like psychic daggers or anything like that.
No, I like the assassin Psylocke.
Well, see, that's the thing is that's the more popular one. That's the one that everybody really likes. I have a poster of her in the other room. But the thing is that the X-Men, this is what I mean when I say they're so complicated. They're a very complicated group of heroes.
Yeah, see, 90s animated series Rogue is after she absorbed Carol Danvers.
And that was part of the story in the cartoon.
Yeah.
So that Rogue would have to come after she gets introduced as the normal Rogue and then somehow
absorb Carol Danvers.
Carol Danvers, right. And then Carol Danvers becomes binary, which by the way, they've skipped that because the one in the MCU already has access to her binary powers, which is part of the storyline. When she loses her Captain Marvel powers in the comics, she eventually becomes binary. And then it gets connected together later on when they bring her back in like the 2000s. So they've already jumped ahead of that. So that's not even a story anymore. So I don't know. The 90s X-Men is the most popular. That's the one that everybody loves. And that's why the X-Men, the newer ones that are coming out now, like the comics that are coming out now, the legacy X-Men comics or whatever, are based on the 90s X-Men, because that's the ones that everybody wants to go back to.
All the ones that are based off those crappy movies are crap.
Like what, turning Jubilee into a vampire and Gambit being a bad guy and stuff like that. Yeah, pretty much all that stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of things that changed in the late 90s, early 2000s. But
that's not kind of tapped out as comics.
I don't think we said. Did anybody say Carol Danvers dies? She doesn't.
No, she doesn't
lose
die.
her memory.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
she comes back in a coma for like a long time.
And she comes back and gets the binary powers eventually and fights at the cosmic level. She's really powerful. Actually, she's more powerful as binary than she was as Captain Marvel. So, yeah, there you have it.
So yeah, I think it's going to be. I think no matter what they do with the X-Men when they introduce them, it's going to be controversial for all the reasons
Nobody's going to keep paying Brie Larson to lay in a bed in a coma. I'm just saying. You're all like, oh, she can lay in a coma. She can lay in a coma for 6. Like, who's paying
already
for
know
that?
like Brie Larson.
Yeah, she's slated for 5 films, but for a couple of those,
here we go. Brie Larson gets credited in a movie. This is what she does. And there's beeping in the background. Like, they're not going to do that, guys. Come on, let's be realistic here. Like, they're not going to pay Brie Larson to come in and lay in a bed for 3 movies. That's not going to happen. It's like, I see smart writing. Smart writing is not paying an A-list time jump. That doesn't make any sense either. So she's going to go in a coma. We're going to miss that whole period. She's just going to come back, and she's not going to have her memories. She's not going to remember. Not to mention
all the films in between that time jump.
Right.
Whatever they are doing in that time frame.
And not to mention, the whole binary storyline has already been jumped over. She can't become that character because it's already been incorporated into the Captain Marvel that we have right now with her binary form.
So if they introduce Rogue, she's going to have to get her powers from someone else.
Yeah, somebody else.
Yep. Or just make her that way from the beginning.
Yeah, that's probably what they're going to do. They're going to make her that way from the beginning, like they did with every other freaking X-Men movie. Well, not the problem.
But here's the thing: the problem is that is part of Rogue's journey to becoming a hero, because that's what causes her.
Rogue was a bad guy at first.
Yeah, she worked with the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Mystique was like her idol, her mentor. And so when she does that to Carol Danvers, that's what causes her to have like this change where she wants to help and she wants to be better, you know? And so that's part of her journey in becoming a superhero, really. She's a very complex character. She has a great storyline in the comics. So yeah. Yeah, Endgame had a time jump that occurred for every character.
Yeah, like all of the MCU time jump.
I think you're okay. So I think you're confused. I think you're confusing time jump with an off-screen storyline. Like a time jump means that we go from 2020 to 2030. Everybody goes there, including her, which would mean there was literally no character development for Rogue during that time period. Think about
any other character
or any other character. So you'd be time jumping for the sake of bringing Carol Danvers back with no memories. You're talking about an off-screen character development, which they would not pay Brie Larson for.
Instantly recovers. I could see like.
Then where does the struggle for Rogue come in?
Yeah, it
requires Rogue to struggle with what she's done. If Carol instantly recovers, then that changes that whole storyline.
Yeah,
there's no way to write it that doesn't work. Right?
There's no way to. Unfortunately, there's no way to make it work for both characters in a live action scene.
Yeah,
because one character has to suffer.
Well, because they can, like in the comics, you can take a character away for like 10 years and bring them back.
I mean, Superman's been around for how long, and the character's not any older. Like,
right?
It's comics, guys.
Yeah. So everybody that's saying time jump, please explain to me how that would benefit anybody except for Carol Danvers. Wouldn't benefit anybody, and most people aren't a fan of Brie Larson anyway. So I don't know if they would do that. Fireflame 5. Do you think the Eternals will get flashback to Celestial War? Do you think that they will gender bend Michael Korvac for the movie? I won't take any bets on gender flipping characters because it happens now so often that I have no idea.
I'm honestly not a fan of that.
But as far as flashback into the Celestial War, I do believe we're going to see a lot.
Yeah,
I think Celestials are going to be a big part of it.
I think that they are also going to mention it. They have to mention something else. What else are you doing with the Eternals? Like,
yeah,
there has to be something there.
I truly believe that the Celestial stuff is going to play a big part in the Eternals. I think that's really what it's going to come down to. Because I do believe that's probably why they didn't take place or didn't help out with human stuff, is because they were probably forbidden to do it. Because I think the Celestials probably told them they couldn't. Amethyst says, I still like Rogue's original, but that is me. I do too. I like that journey. She starts out as a bad guy. She has a life-changing event. She goes to the X-Men for help. She gets the help from them, and then she struggles for a long time. When the X-Men, like one of my favorite storylines is when they're in the Australian outback and they're dealing with the Marauders and all of that. Rogue's character development is insane during that period of time. That's when she goes through the whole struggles of like wearing the costume changes and whether or not she's a hero, whether she's a villain. It's a lot of stuff that goes on in there. And she's got like the Wolverine, like the triangle hair with the white down the center and stuff. And that's my favorite story arc. And so I think I would love for them to do something like that. So, Eon, I'm not arguing about changes from the comics. I don't know where you got that impression. I'm saying that Rogue's storyline, the way it's told in the comics, it's impossible to tell it in the movies. There's no way
it's impossible to tell it now.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you've already introduced and moved forward with one of the characters that was an integral part of her origin story. Making a new origin story for Rogue is fine.
Yeah.
Which is what we just said. They would just have to change.
That's fine. As long as, but it would have to make sense to why she kept the powers that she kept and never lost while she was still able to absorb other people's powers.
Well, Monica and Kamala's powers are not the same.
Yeah, they're not the same.
And she could absorb them. That's the thing. She could. It's just she held on to.
I don't have a problem with Brie Larson either, but I know a lot of people don't like her. I think she's really good in the role. I don't have a problem with her at all. Ethan says this is why the X-Men should be its own universe. Well, I've always argued that Fox could have done the X-Men in their own universe. They could have.
They just did it poorly.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is they just didn't do a good job of it.
I mean, they can go. Yeah, it's weird because in the comics there are level threats that require X-Men and the Avengers to work together, but for the most part, X-Men stayed in their own lane and the Avengers stayed in their own lane. Every once in a while, Spider-Man and Wolverine, you know what I mean? Like they would cameo each other, but in the MCU, it's just tough.
Yeah, I feel like feel like the X-Men. There's so many mutants around the world. You could literally have an Earth with just mutants that have powers. No one else, like no Captain Americas, no Fantastic Four. That you could do it. The problem is Fox never gave it enough to do it. That's basically what it was.
Yeah.
So, Fire Flame, are you looking forward to tonight's Legends? Legends isn't on tonight. Legends, Batwoman, The Flash are all off for another week. The only show we get this week is Superman and Lois, which is on Tuesday night. So, yeah, as far as I know, Legends could be on tonight, but I believe they're not. All right, so we are officially 15 minutes over where we were going to stop at. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Cyber, Omega, anything you want to say before we sign off for the evening?
I'm talking before Omega because that's what I do. Tonight, I'm back to streaming pretty regularly now. So tonight we will be streaming. We don't normally stream on Sundays. So if you're going to be up late tonight, I will be streaming, and I'll be streaming Phasmophobia. It's a scary game if you haven't seen me play it before, and I'll be playing that with a couple of friends. And during the chat,
you can't see me wave, but I'm waving.
Omega will probably be
my hands. Take a drink.
If you're watching me on Twitch and you watch the channel for long enough, I think it's about 30 minutes to an hour. You can gain enough channel points to where you can make jump scare sounds at me while I'm trying to play a scary game.
Funny. I've done it.
Yeah, it's amazing. So if you want to do that,
that didn't sound. I didn't believe that at all. By the way, when you said that. So, Omega, what's up with you?
As you can see from right here, I've been playing a lot of.
Go ahead.
What was that for?
I was trying to close another window, but go ahead.
Oh, don't let him lie to you. Don't let him lie to you.
Anyway, I've been playing a lot of Mass Effect 2 recently, and the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I finished off of 1, which I actually clipped a weird glitch that happened to me when I was fighting Sarah. You can see that at my Twitch channel, /OmegaBeltall, twitch.tv/OmegaBeltall. And you can see me retweet some crazy memes on Twitter, also at OmegaBeltall. And also, I'll be streaming a bit more now that I got all this weird equipment. I'm not going to let that go to waste. So the footage that you're seeing behind me now is me playing Mass Effect 2, where I'm getting Garrus. So if you want to see more of that, and either follow me at twitch.tv/MegaButtshole, or I'll probably be co-starring on at twitch.tv/CyberNinja. So
yeah, there you go. All right, couple shots for me.
Also, I'm still making 3D waifus on my DeviantArt page. It's not furry stuff, I swear, but it's all right, I guess. Some people like it. I mostly do it for self-enjoyment, but yeah, that's it. I'm done.
Okay, there we go. Couple shout outs. Team Eric members, my Lucifer season 1 overview is available. If you go to the community tab on my channel here, you can check it out. I've got a link over there because for some reason on YouTube it doesn't show up in your sub boxes, but it is there. It is available. It's been up for a few days. So if you want to go check that out, go over there. There's a Q&A section for Team Eric, enhanced Team Eric members that will be up for Team Eric members exclusively. Have that in the community tab as well. The questions for this next video for that are going to be about movies. So movie questions, and go over there and ask me in the community tab as well. Also, there was a question about the shout outs. The StreamYard has a limit on the amount of videos you can use for like intros and outros. And I have reached my limit. So I can't make another video until I go through and delete other videos. And that takes a while to do. So I'll probably end up doing it this week. Because every time I did one, I had to change the names, and eventually it's like, wait, you've reached your limit. You can't keep doing it. So yeah, need to do that. But we have one last super chat here from Staggervore. Do you think they'll incorporate Spider-Man into whatever they plan for the X-Men in the MCU? This Spider-Man and the X-Men didn't have a lot of stories together. I think really. the biggest stuff was like the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends cartoons from the 80s, where Firestar and Iceman were like his best friends or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of cheesy. It's on Disney Plus, by the way, if you want to watch it.
There was an episode of I don't know if it was Spider-Man or X-Men, the one that was from the 90s, where he was trying to figure out whether or not he was a mutant, but he's not.
Right. Yeah, which is weird because he should have known that he's not. Yeah. I mean, obviously he knows where his powers.
Yeah, he wasn't born with those powers. He got them.
Right. Anyway, so we're out, guys. We'll be here next week, and we'll be discussing Loki because Loki will be starting very soon. Oh, yeah. So we're going to be talking about Loki and any other news that pops up. If we have any more casting stuff for like Kraven or something like that, we'll talk about it. Anyway, we're out. We'll see you guys later. Have a good night.